So earlier today, we spoke to the new UFC undisputed heavyweight champion, the one and only Francis Ngannou. And now we get the opportunity to speak to the WWE Universal Champion, heavyweight champion in his own right, the one and only, the big dog himself, the tribal chief, the head of the table, the man who'll be headlining WrestleMania, the real main event of WrestleMania in about 10 or so days, April 11th to be exact, in Tampa. The one and only Roman Reigns, kind enough to join us. First time ever getting a chance to talk to him. Very exciting stuff. Roman, thank you so much for the time. I appreciate it.
My pleasure. Thanks for having me.
So one thing I've actually wondered as I've watched your career over the last few years, primarily I cover mixed martial arts, and you use some influences from the world of MMA in your matches. Of course, the Superman punch made famous by the likes of George St. Pierre, the guillotine choke. Are you a big MMA fan?
I would say I'm growing into it. Probably if you would ask me this like 3 or 4 years ago, I would kind of more of a casual fan. But I think through the pandemic and quarantine, that's something that me and my wife have really enjoyed is the fight nights and the pay-per-views. So yeah, I mean, I definitely say I'm a UFC fan, very much so now.
Anyone in particular that you've kind of latched onto that you've become a big fan of?
I enjoy them all. As an athlete, it's very impressive for those men and women to go out there and put it on the line. Because one loss, one ass whooping, and that might be it for you. You know what I mean? So I have a deep respect for them all, but I think I gravitate towards the showmen. The ones. But like you said, Ngannou, he's one of those rare athletes where he can just be quiet. He has that ability, that Mike Tyson it factor, to where it's like he might kill somebody if he lands a punch. So it's like he has that the ability to end it all like that. So that's obviously entertaining. I like to see finishes. I like to see a definitive finish and not like to decision or like them laying around for too long unless they are actually working and displaying skills that I'm not aware of. What's his name? Some of them I'm still learning all the names too. So like you can't like I try not to be. Don't hold me to this. I have no disrespect to some of these men and women. But what's his name? Sugar Show.
Oh,
whatever.
Sugar Sean O'Malley. Yes, yeah.
O'Malley.
He is a
I
showman.
Him. Yeah, I like him. He's got like a different type of swag. I enjoy his charisma. Man, there's so many. Masvidal. I'm a big fan of his. I like another guy, and you can see the ones who are influenced by these, professional wrestling. They understand the art of the promo. Like
yes.
Let me catch their attention right quick and sell them into this fight. He's one of those guys. And there's a lot of guys I respect, but we probably end up turning this whole thing about talking about them, but let's talk about me.
Of course. And I respect that. So speaking of you, it was exactly almost 1 year ago that you decided that you would not compete in WrestleMania due to the pandemic. And, I went back and watched, you posted a video on your Instagram. You were walking outside. It was like a 7-minute video. And you were kind of talking about the toxicity of social media and some of the criticism that you received and whatnot. And I gave you a lot of credit for, doing what was best for your family. And of course, your own health reasons as well. That guy who was prompted to post that video and everyone's saying, oh, you're afraid and this and that. What was going through your mind that day? Because that's not something that we've often seen from you, in the past, going out there and kind of out of character, addressing what people are saying online.
A lot, actually. It's one of those things, and we all deal with the negativity, the toxic culture of social media. And I try to do my best to be bulletproof, kind of in a sense, and not allow it to affect me and understand, take it for what it is, and a lot of people can talk smack, with their thumbs, but we live in a world now where, like, back in the day, you get punched in the mouth if you ran your mouth the wrong way, and I'm old enough, still a young man, but old enough to go through a generation like that, to where, people running their mouths wasn't, you know, like such a strong thing now. You know, it wasn't such a big form of entertainment now. People who back then, they could actually back it up. You know what I mean? There was some facts behind what they were saying. You know, if there's no like credibility behind, you know, the shit you talk essentially, um, then you're a nobody really. So for me, it was one of those things where I just wanted it to be clear because we're in a very uncertain time. And it was one of those kind of fall off the edge moments where people just saying anything they want to say. But I felt it was important that you hear it from me why this was happening and what my intentions were and my reasons. Excuse me. But like when it comes to my family, I'll never put anything before that. You know, there's been many times that I put my career and the opportunity to provide before them. But when it comes down to our health and our mental and emotional well-being, I will never put anything financial or material over that. It's just not that important to me. As long as we have our health and we have the opportunity to wake up tomorrow, that's all I care about. But yeah, it was just one of those things too, where it was such a polarizing response because like, you know, you have your fans who are like, you know, saying you're scared to do it. But then you also have your fans who are like, you know, who are deep into the story or the character and they're like, don't show up. We don't retire, blah, 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 just being disrespectful towards my career and, you know, what I've done for our industry and our business. And that's another thing that I won't stand for is, and I think that's what this whole, you know, past 10 months displays is anyone who has ever wished that negativity upon me or like been one of those idiots that are like, man, I hope you break your leg or you blow your hip out so you can never compete or perform again. They just clearly don't understand. And they're just um, they're misspoken because they don't understand. They didn't understand what I bring to the table, what I bring to this business. And I think what I've done over the past 9 months, there's no more debate. It is very obvious what I do for this company and this business and this industry of sports entertainment.
I think a lot of people would argue it's been the best 9 month, 10 month stretch of your career. At any point throughout all of this, did you say to yourself, like, man, here I am on fire. You're with Heyman. You're cutting great promos. The matches are great, and the fans aren't here. The people who booed me, who said you don't deserve this and that, like they'd probably be loving this right now. There's a bit of irony to that. Have you ever, you know, kind of chuckled at the fact that and finally they're going to get a chance to see you in person at WrestleMania, and we'll see the result of it all. But it is kind of strange that the guy who was so maligned for so many years and treated unfairly by these fans is now on fire when there are no fans there.
I think it's perfect. You know what I mean? Because if I've been able to do this without going in on the fans, if I've been able to do this without really touching on that relationship, that dynamic, that motivation, you know what I mean? Having to hear all this BS for so long, having to just kind of, like I said, be bulletproof and bounce off all this negativity. I've been able to just tell compelling and interesting stories just between the characters alone. I haven't even introduced our audience, which is, you know, like in sports, it's like the 13th man. You know what I mean? It's like the crowd has always been a huge part of every form of sport or entertainment. So that just shows how much material and how much more storytelling that I'm going to be able to dive into. So to me, it's encouraging because I still feel like I have so many more opponents, so many more layers to really peel back with this character in this position that I'm in. But I think it's going to be really special when I can truly interact with our fan base.
At any point when you were coming up and they were being, you know, evil towards you, like truly, you know, some mean spirited stuff, did you ever say, you know what, life is too short for this crap. I don't want to do this anymore. Did they ever get you to the point where you disliked pro wrestling?
No, I mean, you know, as my pantry's full and my kids' mouth and bellies are full, you know what I mean? Like when it comes down to it, you have to break it down for what it does. So I've never gotten to that point. You get to a point where it's just like, man, I just want to turn it off, and I do, you know. And as we all have that control, we have the mute button. You can close those apps. You don't have to make yourself available to it all the time. Obviously, it is good from a business standpoint, to a connectivity standpoint. and just within the current, being in real time, I guess. But like, it's not one of those things where I let it dictate my happiness or anything like that. We haven't been in the social media world and culture and like era that long to where now, like in 20 years, like the kids, like my children or, our kids, like where they that's all they've ever known. They didn't know a world without it. That might be a bit concerning, but like I'm old enough now, going almost 36, to where a good part of my life, like I didn't have a phone until I was like 18. You know what I'm saying? Like I'm back in high school, it was the Nokia phone where everybody just played the snake game. Like that was like the big thing, So it's like I lived enough life to understand like the good things outside of being on your device all day long. So it is concerning though, but yeah, I've never let it like take away my interests or like put a negative taste on a positive thing for me.
One last thing on last year. Did you watch WrestleMania? And if so, how difficult was that for you?
I didn't. No, I didn't watch, to be honest, I didn't watch that much of the product at all. I wanted to just I've before I took that break, outside of things that I just couldn't control, whether it was injury or my leukemia diagnosis, relapse, I've been full time the whole time. Like I was on the road. I didn't miss shows. You know what I mean? I wrestled hurt. I was on every single event. And for a long time, it was Friday all the way to Wednesday morning. So I'd only get a day and a half at home. You know what I mean? So like for a long time, I was running a crazy schedule. So for me, it was just time to be able to put that all back into my family, put that back into my wife, give them the time, the quality time, and just kind of learn and really establish all the different languages of love that I needed to be able to put into my family, the most important part of my life.
Whose idea was it to pair you with Paul Heyman?
That was, to be honest, I mean, if I have to give credit to anybody, I would say Vince, but it wouldn't have happened if we weren't on board. Like if Paul was like, no way, or I was like, no way, it wouldn't have happened. But ultimately a decision like that, it goes back to the big man.
What have you learned from working with him so closely?
Him being Paul?
Paul, yeah.
So many things, man. There's so much to learn, and I don't feel like I'm in a position to just give away his teachings. You know what I mean? Because I'm sure he values that. And those are valuable experiences. But man, like if I can just give a little bit of free game away here, like the way he attacks everything within his career, like in his relationship with me, there's not, I mean, you know what I mean, without being like ridiculous and like distasteful, like if I needed, like I'd like, Paul, I need a hand towel. Like I need a hand towel and some toothpaste. He'd be the first to be on the phone figuring out who he's got to send, or if he's got to like get a rental car and go. He will do whatever it's going to take to bring out the best performance, to bring out the best in the person that he's working with, the talent that he's currently within creative with. He's going to do the best for it. Like, so like working with him, and he tells me constantly, because I try to be respectful with his time as well, but like open line 24/7. I can call him at, Sunday, at 3 a.m. It does not matter. He can be laid up with 16 beautiful women. He'll leave all 20 of them to come talk to me about some business, to make sure that I'm comfortable, to make sure that I'm being looked out after. Like I said, like he not only goes from the creative side to on screen, benefits of being with him, but everything in between, whether it's, tomorrow he will be asking me what I want to eat.
Wow.
Like he will be lining up my food.
Wow.
To make sure I'm good. If I need any, like if Paul, I need a curling iron. He's gonna, you know what I mean? He's all hands on deck, and that's what people don't, because especially like his influence in the game and to be, who he was with ECW all the way, from behind the scenes to what he is on camera as a talent himself. he has no ego. You know what I mean? That, like, I know there's a sense of confidence and a competitive nature, but when he's with someone that he's looking out for, that ego crap is out the window, man. He's willing to do whatever it takes to put on the best performance. I mean, he's been a great influence, and I don't think I'd ever want to work without him.
If we weren't living in these weird times, if there was no pandemic, would you have been facing The Rock at this year's WrestleMania?
I'd say there'd be a lot better chance. But I like how everything happens, you know what I mean? Because, no disrespect to Tampa Stadium, and obviously the conditions we're in, it's going to be less people, but I'm grateful. If we had 1,000 people out there, it'd be awesome. If not, even just the opportunity to just have the help to go out there and perform in general, it's fabulous. But we can't lie about it. Dallas is humongous. I mean, Jerry World is giant. AT&T Stadium, I've already done that. Over 100,000 people, main event at that spot, huge. And then the following year, I'm in his backyard. So
right.
You can't. I mean, imagine me with another couple of years of this dominance going against the great one. You know what I mean? Like in Hollywood, which is, God willing, the obvious next step, you know what I mean? If available, like if everything happens correctly and it's just meant to be, people in my position typically end up there, you know what I mean? So like to be able to continue to build and then be able to tell that story with him, if he's down, it'd be cool.
So before it's all said and done, this is something you want, right?
I want to create the largest, most monumental moments that sports entertainment can hold. So if that involves him in the picture, absolutely. And it all comes back, and I think he would agree to this, it all comes back to the audience. What do our fans want to see? What's going to entertain them? What's going to, create that escapism to where they feel like this isn't even real? Those are the moments that I want to create, that Avenger level, like, my God, what am I watching here? I didn't even think this could be created. That's what I'm looking to do.
Last question. I know you have to run. This was supposed to be you versus Edge. It's now a triple threat match, you versus Edge versus Daniel Bryan. Great story. You may have tapped, you may have not tapped. No one knows for sure. You didn't lose.
I told Paul, I'm over here hitting Morse code to Paul. He had my mouth covered. So we're so like in tune with history and everything. I was Morse coding to him, telling him to fire up the jet. But I was like, tell Charlie to turn the bus on, slide in. We're going to the FBO. That wasn't a tap. You as well as everybody in this. You're from the MMA. They do their.
I know. Yep.
That's a tap. Like you can hear the tap. I was just telling Paul. That's all that was.
Okay, fair enough. Just wanted to clarify. Do you prefer a triple threat match or a one-on-one? Like as an athlete, as a performer, which challenge do you prefer?
I like one-on-one, to be honest. I'll smash anybody one-on-one, whether it's Daniel Bryan one-on-one, Edge one-on-one, DC one. I'll smash them all one-on-one.
Really?
It don't
DC?
matter to me.
Interesting.
Get them from behind the table, get them back in the gym. Maybe you could have a chance. I don't know. It'd be a short story I'll tell with DC, but that's the thing about the triple threat is like there's going to be an element of control that I won't have, and that's I can't. I can't take a second off. I have to be in control of that match 100% of the time. Otherwise, bum A is going to beat bum C. You know what I mean? Like, so I don't like the dynamic to where Edge can beat Daniel Bryan or vice versa. That's the hard part for me is that everything, all this hard work, this control of running SmackDown, being the face of Fox on Friday nights can be taken away from me without any say so from me, so that it's going to be tough, man. But that's what's going to make, a great story is to see me on the other end. If I don't go through these things, if I don't experience these things, if I don't overcome these things, then is my championship reign as good as it should be? So that's what I'm looking forward to.
Well, I wish you the best. Congrats on all your success. It's been amazing to watch, and what you've done this past year, truly remarkable. So congrats and good luck. April 10th and 11th on the Peacock Network, exclusively on Peacock, WrestleMania 2 nights, and the real main event, the main event on Sunday night, is the triple threat match headlined by you versus Daniel Bryan versus Edge. All the best to you, and thank you very much for the time. I appreciate it.
My pleasure, brother. Thanks for having me, man.
Thanks for watching ESPN on YouTube. For live streaming, sports, and premium content, subscribe to ESPN+.